Rev up your engines! Now there's no arguing that Minis are cute cars. In this case, it's a John Cooper Works. It's got a tricked out 6-speed standard transmission. And it's certainly telling you what it is. It puts out 228 horsepower. When this car was made, the normal one, just the plain old Mini, put out 121 horsepower. Yes, if you have a normal one, back in 2015, a lot of people in the United States get them with automatic transmissions. They could barely get out of their own way. There's no arguing that. Now, when you open the hood, you can see what's happening under here. Or I should have said you can't see what's happening under here because it's so cramped in with stuff, you can't really see anything. But if we take off the stupid beauty cover, we can see underneath it's turbocharged. It also has an upgraded exhaust system, intake manifold, exhaust manifold, a remapped ECU main control unit so that it'll go faster. It's actually a quite zippy car. You got to realize one thing with these Minis. It doesn't have that much in common with the original Mini. The original Mini weighed less than 1,300 pounds. This thing weighs 3,627 pounds. It's a much heavier vehicle. Now, some of them are made in England, some of them are made in the Netherlands. They're all made by BMW. We'll open the door here and check this one out. Here we go right here. It's made by BMW, which can be a very good thing performance-wise, but a very bad thing repair cost-wise. The parts on these things will make your head spin. This particular one was about a $35,000 car. But my customer bought this used for about $14,000, and even now it's only got 34,000 miles on it. So as you can see, they depreciate very rapidly, just like regular BMWs do. They're very expensive cars to repair. All those cars generally have relatively low resale value because of that. Do they really fall apart right away? Well, the answer to that is no. Now, high mileage ones, generally, they're on their last legs. You can buy a car with this low mileage for a fraction of what it originally went for. It can actually be a fun car to drive around. Just make sure you have full coverage. Body parts are expensive too, so they get wrecked. They cost a fortune to repair. So make sure you always have full coverage and maintain the vehicle. But being built and here in the United States, serviced at BMW dealerships are so expensive to maintain at the dealer. That's why this car is here. He saw some servicing he needed at the dealer, and it was astronomical what they wanted for just some basic things. Now, a lot of the parts are made by BMW. Software is all stuff with BMW. I work on BMW, so I got all the equipment for them. You can find lots of mechanics if they work on BMWs, other European cars. They're going to have equipment to work on these things. But anybody who's ever owned a BMW and had it serviced regularly at a BMW dealer, they know the insane high cost that they have there. In that respect, the Minis are no different. They are astronomical if you maintain them at the dealer. Now, granted, the earlier ones had engine problems. My neighbor had one, blew the engine in it. But that was long before this one. The engines are pretty solid. I do have to say, you change the oil regularly in them, it's going to last. They're solid built engines. BMW always made solid built engines. And being so low to the ground, hey, these aren't cars you're gonna drive through any type of water. You'll suck water and blow the engine. But being low to the ground and a very tricked out suspension system, these things are a lot of fun to drive around. They really corner well. And this one, it's a sport version, but it does have a reasonable amount of space in the back. Just take this into consideration. Here, the seats are folded back. When the seats are folded up, you're not going to have comfortable large people sitting in the back by any stretch of the imagination. But for the driver and the passenger, they have very comfortable molded seats. They are excellent seats. And if you're in the sunroofs, it's got the crazy double sunroof, front and back. You like sun, this is the vehicle for you. I guess they get so little sun in England, they want to have it wide open whenever it is sunny so they can get some sun. Here in Texas, you're going to roast to death. First thing you're going to do is shut those babies down. And I do have to say the dashes and everything are pretty well appointed. If you're a serious driver, we'll start it up. As you can see, speedometer's here, tachometer's right next to it. So you can do your shifts right. You don't have to take a look to the left or right. It's all right in front of you. And it does make a decent sound. And it's got a cool side dash display for all kinds of electronic stuff you want to mess around with. The modern obligatory zillion buttons on the steering, so you can mess with everything without taking your hands off the steering wheel. Now when we jack up the car, you can get a little more idea about how it actually functions. As we go under, you can see it's a classic Mini, front wheel drive. There's a drive shaft. It drives only the front wheels, just like the classic Mini did. And as we look at the tires here, we can see the classic problems you're always going to have with these tires. There's still a lot of tread left in the middle, but the inside's all worn thin. These wide tires, low profile, do wear out relatively quickly. But at least being front wheel drive, the rear tires last a lot longer because they're just rolling down the road. Now the modern Minis, being about 3 times heavier than the original Minis, do have one big advantage, and that's in the ride of these things. If you've ever ridden around in a 60s Mini, every time you hit a bump, the fillings of your teeth feel like they're gonna fall out. It was a ragged ride. A fun little car to zip around in, but. And that's where the BMW aspect of the newer Minis comes really into effect. The combination of the weight, the wheelbase, and the BMW designed suspension system. They ride so much better than the old ones did. Now, of course, when the suspension finally does wear out, yes, it's going to cost a small fortune to replace the struts. It's going to be an expensive job because it's all BMW parts, and BMW engineering is much harder to take apart and put together, requires special tools that other manufacturers don't. So, as I said earlier, fixing these things is not a cheap endeavor. Now, I have customers that lease these things, and that's the smartest. The crazy thing about this car is it actually was owned by 2 smart owners so far. The original person leased it, so they didn't take the bump in value. And my customer, who bought it last year, little over a third of what the original sticker price was, and it's got that low mileage on it. But don't be mistaken by some people buying sporty cars thinking, oh, I'll buy a new one, it'll be a collector's item, it'll go up in value. These things are not going to go up in value. They're never going to be true collector's items. What you see is what you get, and if you want a new one, hey, lease it. And if you can find a low mileage one, go ahead and buy it. If you're going to pay like he did, such a small price, then you're not really losing out. But please, listen to Scotty on this one. Do not buy one of these things used with high mileage. You don't want to buy one of these things that's got 100,000 miles on it, unless you get it for practically nothing, and then, you know, what does it matter? I even got people buy Mercedes, 2-3 grand, and they run okay when they buy them. What the heck? They got 2-3 grand. If it goes, they can sell the shell to somebody for $800 or $900. They're not losing that much money, because when they break and they're older, whew. Give you an example. I had a customer with practically the same car as this, was a couple years older, needed a catalytic converter, and the cost of replacing it, parts and labor, was about $2,500. I'm not making this up. $2,500. So now you know the unbridled truth about modern Minis. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Mitsubishi for life size, Mr. Kilmer, please help. I have mobile ATF DM transmission fluid saying it's good for GM Ford Allison. Would it do damage if I use it in my Honda or Mitsubishi? Thanks. I would never use it in a Honda. And with most modern cars, I would pretty much stick to the fluid that it came with. And here's the reason. No one ever tells you what's actually in any of those fluids. I have tried as a professional mechanic and as Scotty, a famous YouTuber, to get these companies to tell me exactly what's in their oils, and they won't, because they said that's our prerogative formula. We are not going to tell anybody what's in it. It's patented, and we're not going to tell anybody because then our competitors will blah, 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 blah. So nobody actually knows what the additives are in any of them. You know, they might tell you it contains this, that, or that, or that, but you don't even know the percentages, and they won't even tell you everything that's in it. You really have no idea what's in the factory stuff. You can put something else in it that you also really don't know everything that's in it. Now, generally, things like that can work okay, but I would not chance it, and especially with a Honda. Honda has a history of you got to use their fluids. They're not all that expensive. You don't have to buy it at the Honda dealer. Lots of places sell them. Honda doesn't make their own fluid, of course. They have a company make it. They're not an oil company. So I would stick to the stuff that they came with in any modern car. Ages ago, didn't really matter. There were only, when I was a young mechanic, there were only 2 types of automatic transmission fluids, really. There was one for almost all of them that GM used, and then there was what they called the Ford type for certain Fords. But now there's all kinds, so stick to what they came with. That makes the most sense. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.